code to insert a data or maybe update a data, delete a data. So all will work like this only. Right? So it's just pretty much of it. So use CD was a database, show tables, and hope you all remember how. See, the last time we had created a database pen, a table pen using this Java code, right? And we had inserted some data in it. And this code is doing what? It's just extracting the data from the database to the command line, right? And in order to get the data, we use the result set, right? When we're trying to fetch the data from our database to our command line, what we do is we have a result set to set the results in it or to store the results in it, right? And then we use the rs next method to check whether we have a data in the next row or not. If the answer is yes, then what happens? The control gets in the loop, and what we are able to see here is that rs dot get string 1, get string 2, get string 3. It just represents the column. It represents first column, second column, and third column. So what it does, it basically just prints the column here, right? So this was it that we learned last time. Now let's discuss about Servlet and how can we connect all these things into a one complete thing. So just a minute. Right. So it's more like now, yeah, we need to create a servlet. What is a Java servlet? Java servlet, and what how does it work, and how is it connected to all the networks, and how can we make a web pages and something like that. So we are going to learn this right now, right? So so first of all, we have a small code here which we are going to use right now. This is a code for a basic servlet page. Import java dot. Need to import some header files here or packages here, I should say. Then servlet is kept in the HTTP packet. So if you guys have NetBeans installed, so we can do it in that only. That will be better because here, otherwise we'll have to do a lot of configuration here if we try to do it using the notepad. And for that we need a local server, which will be Apache Tomcat. If you have heard the name before, if not, it's okay. So here, what we are going to do is we are going to write a code to our servlet. We'll just understand the methods and what works in it. There's I exception and servlet exception, or we can just throw an exception as well. Okay, so why do we use this throws keyword? So basically, we use this basically to throw any check exception outside the method. Right. So why are we using this print writer here? So now, since we have seen that we can create an HTML page, right? We can create an HTML page, and we can uh, use all the things that we want to use in HTML, and we can create a beautiful website with HTML. But what if we want to use that or create a page using Java, right? So basically, Servlet help us to connect our Java with the web server, like web service. So in this, what we can do is we can write the HTML code and we can make it work. Don't worry, we'll do it directly with NetBeans, so it won't be much difficult to understand. And then we are supposed to close this file. So this is a basic code for Servlet. When we'll compile and run this, we'll get an HTML page created, right, with a heading as "Hello World." Right, so we are going to do that a little later. But before that, let's understand what a servlet is. So, okay, we need a diagram for this. Please stop sharing. Just a second. So, is this screen visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Alright. So, the diagram that we are supposed to make here is about how a request and response system works, or how does a HTTP protocol works, hypertext transfer protocol. So, before that, what we are going to write here, what is the full form of HTTP?
Hypertext Transmission Protocol.
Yeah, you can say that. Hypertext. Let's just call it transfer protocol. Yes, short. Right. So now what happens is, let me draw a diagram here. Right. So consider that we have a web browser here. Right. What do we have here? A web browser, right? And we have a web server here, right? So web browser, what is a web browser? The browser that we use, for example, we are using a Chrome here, right? And we have a web server here, right? Web server here. And so what we are doing here is, we when we just for example, we have a form, right? We have a form and we put our data in it and we click on the submit. Then what happens is, we send a request to this browser, to this server. We send a request to this server, which is called http request, right? We send a request to this server, and the web server, in the response of it, sends a response to the web browser, and it sends all the data that we just requested. If it finds the page, it says, it just returns the data. If it doesn't find the page, if it's unable to connect to it, it gives us an error 404. It's unable to find the page, right? 404, right? And what we are getting here, http response. Alright, so it's not properly written, but you can understand it as http response. Now there are two methods to give the request, right? There are two methods. They are mainly do get, or let's say get method, right? Another method is post method. These are two methods which are used to request a web server for any kind of data. Now, what's the difference between get and post? So, the main difference is, when we use the get method, right? So, our data is not that much secure, right? Our data is not that much secure. We'll see how that is possible. But in post method is comparatively secure, right? If you'll read the differences between, you'll understand how these method works. But this is what you need to understand, that these methods are used to send the request, right? And so this is it. And another thing is, we need to generate we need to generate a view of the HTML page, right, at runtime. That's why we use Servlet, right? So, like, it should be when we are sending a request, right, we should get response immediately, right? Otherwise, if we are sending a request now and if we get a response, like, sometimes that it will be really hard for us to understand. That's why we can see the websites working really fast, and whatever we type, we just uh, get what we need really fast. So that's how the servlet works, and it all works here. So we just saw how to create a servlet program here. Now let's see whether we can make it work in NetBeans. Right. So there's okay. Let me stop sharing this. Right. So we need another. Just let me open good software so that we can draw properly. So this is our MS Paint. Now we are going to have a nice image here, right? So let's make another image here. Yeah, right. So what is this? This is our web browser. Right. This is our web browser, and what we do with this is we generate a request here, HTTP request. That's the first step in this request. This is the first step. Then what happens is the request will go from our web browser to our web servlet, right? Web server. Yeah. Goes to our web server. Now, what happens is the server, as we just discussed, had the then web server forward